This is the On the Pony Express podcast, part of the On3 network. Check out all the SMU coverage you need at ontheponyexpress.com. Now, here's your host, Billy Embody. Billy Embody. 1, 2, 3, let me go.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. I'm Billy Embody. Thanks for joining us. We've got a huge guest lined up with Hayden Howerton and myself. But before we get to that interview and a little bi-week conversation on the Pony Express podcast, which, by the way, head over to ontheponyexpress.com, sign up. We've had a ton of subscribers join us. Got the best SMU news, message board, newsletter, podcast, whatever you want. We've got it on theponyexpress.com. So check us out right there. But we are presented by our friends at StatusJet. StatusJet.com. Really excited about this run of road games because our On the Pony Express subscribers that have used StatusJet now are getting to know what it's like to go on a road game with their attention to detail, with that Pony Up ACC discount code that you can mention when you book through them. And David Henry and I have been talking about how cool it is to go in the day of and fly back the night of, or create this incredible trip for you, whichever road game you pick. We had Louisville last week. There's Stanford this coming weekend that some folks are using StatusJet with. We've also got Duke and, of course, UVA later on, plus basketball. So reach out to StatusJet today to plan your trip now. Hayden, you've got to take it away here and introduce our big guest. This is a huge get for the podcast. Really excited about it.
Guys, this is a big one. I've been looking forward to this for the last few weeks. This is a guy that really came in and changed the program. Native of Arlington, Texas, out of Arlington Lamar, 4-star recruit, signed with the University of Texas before eventually coming back home. In his first season with the Mustangs, he set the all-time passing yards for a single season. He's 4th all-time for SMU career passing yards. He revived the program, 4-year NFL veteran now, played for a couple great organizations. Want to introduce Shane Buechele to the show.
Come on, man. What an intro. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. Love that. Appreciate you guys.
Oh, thanks for jumping on with us, man. This is great. How's everything up in Buffalo?
Man, it's great. It's great. We've kind of in the grind of it now. And we were talking before this a little bit, but man, it's getting cold. It's like once October hits, it gets a little chilly up here. So, but all is well.
Love it, man. This is a big time guest as we're talking about. I mean, I have to apologize to Garrett and Kyle. I kind of swooped in and grabbed you before they could get you. I mean, but SMU top 6 most passing yards in a single game is you and those two. So I feel like it's just right for our show, to get you at least on our side. But what are your thoughts on the season so far, man? How are we feeling?
Man, excited, man. That one game against BYU, man, it's just that kind of keeps playing in my mind because we should be 6-0. And that's the tough thing about it. But 5-1 going into the bye week is awesome. I love that. It's been just exciting ball, offensively, defensively, and special teams too, making plays. And so it's been a lot of fun to watch, and once this bye week goes by, I'm excited to see how they finish the year off.
Speaking of buys, I know you haven't been down yet to see the new facility, but you are in the quarterback room. They have a few of the guys up there who are legends in every room. You're in the quarterback room, and that's pretty cool because KJ and Preston Stone get to look up to you every day. But kind of what are your thoughts on the quarterback room and how it was handled this year?
Yeah, that's a tough position to be in. For one, to kind of how you started that off, Coach Lashley sent me a picture of me on like the wall, and I was like, dude, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like being able to be in that room, and whenever I was a freshman going in at Texas, I was seeing like Colt McCoy and Vince Young, and then I came to SMU, and I was just seeing all these different guys that played in the past, and that was always my dream to be on like a wall like that where incoming freshmen or recruits in high school could come in and see that. So that's so cool. And I'm thankful that they're able to do that and that they did that. But how they've handled the quarterback room, I think they've done a really good job with it. And I think Preston specifically has done a good job. It's always tough for him to be the starter on the watch list for all these different awards going into the season. And then ultimately it's still a competition going into the season in the first couple games, and they had to make the decision to go with KJ, and I think it was a good one. I think it would have been a good one too to go with Preston. I think they're two really good players, and I know it was a tough decision for Coach Lashley and De'Eric and all these guys. So, I think they made the right decision, and I'm happy with how they've been playing so far.
I totally agree with that, man. Obviously, you went to Texas, but you grew up around Arlington, man. Your dad was a Ranger. I mean, he's worked for the organization. Did that add to your pressure to be a big time pro athlete, or to make a name for yourself as well?
I wouldn't say pressure, but I would say it was always a dream. And I think being able to see that and see it in front of me, I never got to see my pops play, but he retired in 96. I was born in 98, but I saw the cassette tapes and I saw all the things that my grandma kept, and I was able to see it and kind of know. And once he got into coaching, I was in the dugout and I was in the locker room, and I just thought that was the coolest thing, was like the locker room feel, how the guys work together. And that was my dream, to be a part of that. And it came with work and sacrifice and different things, but I wouldn't say pressure. I think it was just always a dream to be able to kind of follow in my dad's footsteps, for sure.
That's badass, man. I mean, you were a great baseball player too in high school. I mean, you weren't just a football guy. I mean, yes, you were a 4-star quarterback, but did it ever cross your mind to go play college baseball? I mean, was it always football? And then on top of that, I know you grew up in a divided household, man. Your siblings, I mean, they're going to OU. And then was it always Texas for you, or how was your high school experience?
Yeah. So originally I went to the University of Texas to play both baseball and football, and I graduated early. So I went through spring football and ended up winning the starting job as a freshman. So I played all 12 games. We didn't make a bowl game, but then we got a new coach at Texas. We got Coach Herman, and so it kind of switched things up. He wanted me to go through spring football, so I didn't end up playing that spring of baseball, and then just kind of let it go after that. So that was kind of how that thing. I always wonder, like, what could have happened, but I know I made the right decision. I love the game of football, and I'm in the right place right now, so I'm thankful for that. And then, yeah, man, I grew up actually an Oklahoma fan just because my brother played baseball there, and Texas fans probably don't like me saying that, but and then once you get into recruiting, you kind of don't turn into a fan of anybody. It's just where you think is the best fit for you, and I ended up choosing Texas, so it was a tough thing for the house, but through many things, I was able to meet my wife there, and graduate from there. So all things worked out.
You got to pick this weekend. I mean, yeah, is Quinn going to play? I mean, are they giving you an
Yeah.
inside scoop? Are you going to break any news on the pod?
I mean, I don't know. From what ESPN's telling me, Quinn's going to play, and I got Texas winning that one, but it'll be a good game for sure. It always is.
What was the recruiting process like? I mean, back then, I know it changes, decade by decade in major waves. It seems like, but for you back then, that was still where Twitter was there, but it didn't seem as crazy. But for you, a blue chip guy, I mean, what was that like?
Man, I couldn't even imagine being in recruiting right now. Like, recruiting is the wild west right now, and I couldn't even imagine. But for me, I mean, whenever I would get on Twitter or whatever, like, I would just hope that there was a notification in my like inbox, and that was like from a coach saying to call me. And that's how we really communicated. It was through like Twitter DMs and all that. And then we would go take a visit, and, you would have to like pay for a parking pass and then like hope they reimbursed you for the parking pass. Like, just weird things like that. When back in the day, you think about that now, and it's just like they're probably giving you a car to go down there and like paying you a check. I don't know, man. It's just crazy right now, but I'm happy that I went through it when I went through it, because I think now it's kind of the Wild West, and it's the tough thing that college coaches have to go through now, man, is having to recruit all these guys and do it the right way. So it was fun back then, but I can only imagine what it is now.
Man, so you go to Texas. You're the second true freshman ever to win the starting job at University of Texas. Your opening game is Notre Dame in Austin. Y'all win that double overtime game. Kind of take me through a little bit of that freshman season, and then the coaching change comes. Sam Ehlinger comes, and kind of what was the dynamic over that course?
Yeah, my freshman year was like a roller coaster, man. Like the highs of the highs and the lowest of the lows. That first game, everybody's like, oh, last year Texas got beat by Notre Dame by 45 points or whatever it was, and it's just probably going to be like that this year. And the only game to be played on Sunday night for college football, like it was just everybody was watching this game, and to be able to start that game and lead the team to a win in the first game, beating a top 25 team in Notre Dame, like that was, I mean, the highest of the highs as a true freshman doing that at the University of Texas. That was great. And then the season went on, and I ended up breaking my first rib up here. Still played in all the games, but like it's just like things that people don't really know that happened, and all these different things. And then we lost to Kansas out of all teams, who hadn't won a game in 17 years, and it was just like, man, this is tough. And then man, we tried all we could do against TCU in our last game, but TCU was a really good team at that time. So we ended up losing, didn't make a bowl game. Coach Strong got fired. Coach Herman got hired, and ended up winning the job my sophomore year and started, I forget how many games, but then battled some injuries, a high ankle, a shoulder sprain, had a sports hernia at the end of the year, and just kind of battled injuries while I was there. So in my career at Texas, I loved it, but it was the highest of the highs, and then I met the lowest of the lows too. So it was tough.
Something that we were all really excited about when it was announced that we were going to get you was the reputation you had in the locker room at University of Texas. You came in for Sam in a few games, and you obviously commanded that locker room. You had everybody's respect. People loved you, and that's what made me excited to be able to get you on the hilltop. So leading to the 2019 season, how'd you get here, man? Like, how did that whole process go down?
Yeah, that's a great question and kind of a great story. So I ended up losing the job after I played really well in like a fall camp of 2018, which was my last year at Texas. So I lost the job, and Sam unfortunately got a couple injuries during the year. So I was able to go in and lead the team to a win both times. And that's just, I mean, it's part of me is just to stay prepared and always just, you never know what's going to happen. And it's kind of in the position that I'm in now in the league, and being a backup quarterback, obviously I'm on IR, but in the past is like, you always got to be ready. And that's just kind of how I've always been, is you never know what's going to happen. So that's what happened in 2018. And then in 2019, man, ended up choosing SMU, which I was super thankful for. And kind of didn't really know what to expect. I kind of struggled a little bit the year before in 2018, and but I knew the team was there. They just needed a guy to lead them, and I was thankful to be that guy, because man, it was so much fun. Like being able to be the starter, playing football, and start the way that we did, 8-0, I think it was, and it was just a lot of fun. Kind of seeing. I remember my first game in 2019. The first home game, and how many people were in the stands then. And then you fast forward to 6-7 weeks later, and it's almost sold out in that game. And it's just the growth of the program and where we were going. And so I was thankful. There were already good players. Hayden, you were there. James, Reggie, all the skill players, and defense was really good as well. So they just needed a guy to lead them or just add to the leadership. There were leaders already there, and it was a lot of fun, man. That year was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you talk about 2018, Will Brown and Ben Jones, or not Ben Hicks, they kind of split time at the quarterback position. And then that spring ball, you're driving up every Friday and watching practice and hanging out with us, and kind of feel bad for Will Brown, but it was kind of a shoe-in that you're going to be our guy. We would take time away from the walkthroughs. Hey, what's up, Shane? And all that. But you were clearly a leader the second you stepped on campus. You had an immediate impact from a leadership perspective. You were a captain in 2019. That speaks wonders to your leadership. And talking about that 2019 season, man, I feel terrible about your first game. I got blown up on a bull rush, first third down, and I got your hand hit, and I'm like, oh my God, I just ruined this. We got this blue chip guy, and I just ruined him. But you went on. You had a great season. 3,929 yards in 2019, still a school record, 34 touchdowns. You talked a little bit about the players, but kind of what else made that season special? We play on game day, so take me through a little bit of that, if you will.
Yeah, and I think just like I said at the beginning of the year, I don't think there was a lot of hype around SMU. I think we knew in the locker room what we could do, but everybody outside, I don't think knew what we could do. So we won that first game against Arkansas State on the road, kind of a battle, a scoring battle, and ended up winning that, and then came home, won, and it was like, okay, we're 2-0, then 3-0, then we beat TCU at TCU, and that was like, okay, SMU might be real this year, and then we just win after win after win, and it just got really exciting. And I think from an offensive standpoint, we were a lot of fun to watch. I think play calling wise, I think Coach Lashley did a great job. Kind of like what he's doing right now. Like it was fun to watch. We were creative. We got everybody involved. Obviously, we had James, Reggie. I don't know. I think Rasheed was there possibly. That was his freshman year.
He was a true freshman.
Yep.
Kylan was there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Kylan was there. And then we had
Danny Gray was maybe the next year.
Danny Gray was 2020. And then we had Xavier Jones. We had Free at running back. Like we just had guys.
Becker, I think.
Yeah, Becker.
Becker was there too.
Man, it was just like, it was a lot of fun, man. And we were so creative and we're able to get guys in space and just spread it all out. So that year was so much fun. And Hayden, to your point, I don't remember you getting bull rushed and hitting my hand. That's not a memory to me. So
I did.
One snap and clear. There you go. Hayden hasn't slept in years, and now he can sleep.
But man, so much fun, exciting from just not knowing at the beginning of the year to what it ended up being, playing on game day. Man, a lot of fun.
What was that TCU game like in 2019 to get that one done and knowing that, I mean, the last game of the season, at one point for you in Texas was TCU. You got a little revenge there, or a lot of revenge, I guess.
Yeah, no, I never beat TCU as a starter at Texas. So that was like the number one. I circled it on the calendar. I was like, man, I want this one. And to win at their place, I remember just taking a knee and then looking behind me, hugging X, and just like somehow my cousin got on the field. I'm hugging my cousin and I'm like, man, this is crazy. But so much fun, man. That's a game that I'll never forget, and probably one of my favorite college games in general was that win and walking out of there with the dub.
I would 100% agree with that. Such a great game. And you talked a little bit about being creative. I mean, we threw a 2-point conversion to Jalen Thomas that year. I feel like we threw a pop pass to Kylan like once a game, it felt like.
Yep.
So just a lot of fun times on offense.
That was the reverse, I think, too, that started that game in 19.
Yep, I think it was second down, or right after a first down. We had it in our first 15 plays and hit them down the field. It was awesome.
So 2020, you come back for your 5th year of college. I mean, did you know it was going to be your last going into it? Obviously, with COVID year, it was kind of a wild deal. I think nobody really knew what was going to happen. We end up getting that 5th year, given to everybody who's playing. So take me a little bit through that season. Your decision to declare for the draft after that season.
Yeah, that season was tough because we had a really good team, and I think we had a lot of momentum going into the year after 2019, and it just kind of got taken away from us with COVID and all the restrictions and what we could do, and it was just a tough time. And I didn't know that it was going to be my last year, and I wasn't sure even at the end of the year, and just made the hard decision to declare for the draft. And ultimately, I believe it was the right decision, and I'm thankful for that. But COVID year was a tough year, and we still had a really good year, but having our senior day canceled because of COVID, and then having the bowl game canceled, like those are the things that you kind of want back and want those memories, because I never got one at the University of Texas, and then I could have gotten one in 2019, didn't get one, and then didn't end up getting one in 2020 either. So that was tough, but overall, I remember, man, just it was a lot of fun. Just kind of weird games, not having people in the stands. Like I remember Tulane, like they were playing white noise, and like I go to sleep to white noise. Like like it's wild. I felt like I was sleeping on the sidelines, but a different time for sure. But it was still a lot of fun.
I got a crazy hypothetical for you, but if, and I know it's easy to, say yes or no now, I guess, but if NIL was really around and rolling back then and you were, handsomely taken care of by some SMU donors, like a all AAC, one of the best quarterbacks in the country type of deal, would that have changed, coming back? I mean, how much was the pull like, I'm ready to start my pro career versus,
Yeah,
something like that?
that's a good point. I think that's a tough question, man, because I mean, I don't want to say the hardest part, but like I was in tough master's classes. Like I was in the business school, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah,
I have a master's degree from Cox Business School. Like that's
that's
something
crazy.
great to fall back on. But um, yeah, I think it might have changed things a little bit, just negotiation wise. And it's crazy to say that, but just knowing how it is now, and obviously I wouldn't have been crazy adding like a back and forth thing, but it would have been kind of fun to see what could have happened. But man, I don't know. That's a good question,
You don't end up with the Chiefs, in all likelihood, if that happens.
right?
So, I mean,
Right,
things have really worked out for you, and you've been able to
for sure,
be in, like Hayden said at the beginning, some incredible organizations.
for sure.
Yeah, I was obviously sad to see you go. I mean, you were my favorite quarterback in college. I loved playing with Tanner too, but you and I played a lot of football together. We
A
got
lot.
we got close. We had some great memories, but I was so happy for you to end up in Kansas City. So, kind of take me through the pro day prep draft. You end up with the Chiefs. How did that all go down?
Yeah. So pro day prep is tough. You're working hard, and you're just learning systems. You're meeting with QB coaches in the league and head coaches and all these different coaches, and while also training to be in the best shape possible to perform on pro day. And we actually got our combine canceled because of COVID, so we didn't end up having a combine. So pro day was really the day that I could get in front of scouts and show what I could do. And I felt like I had a great pro day. And then draft day came, and actually ended up going undrafted whenever I thought I would go day 3. It would have been a later pick, but I still thought I was going to get drafted. So that was a little bit of I don't want to say a letdown, but just you always hear or dream about hearing your name and getting drafted. So that was a bummer. But that being said, being able to go to Kansas City was a dream come true, to a program or to an NFL team that's just so prominent at the time and so successful. And to be able to go and learn behind Pat and Coach Reed and all the coaches there. I mean, I'm super thankful. I wouldn't change a thing because I'm here right now with the Bills in year 4 because of that year and choosing the Chiefs in free agency. So I'm thankful for how everything went. And yeah, it was a tough time though. That rookie year, Hayden, like that rookie year after you get done playing in college to the end of that rookie year, it's long, man. You don't have an off season. You're going, and right after you get drafted or picked up as a free agent, you go right to OTAs and then training camp, and then it's the season. So it's a long year, but it was a good year for sure.
Any
Yeah.
any good conversations with the SMU alum that runs the show over there in Kansas City? I mean, does that add to the tie there at all?
Oh, for sure. I thought
Yeah.
I mean, that was such a cool thing because we would like either be coming off of practice or like at halftime or like after a game, and I'd be like, hey, that game on Saturday, how about that? And, we kind of talk about that. Or how's the team going to be this year? Have you heard anything? Have you this? And so it was a lot of fun. Those were really good conversations and just a really cool insight to be able to be, Mustang alums.
Yeah, Gracie sat next to me at graduation. I feel like if I had talked to her more, maybe I'd have been your center in Kansas City. But
There we go. There we go.
in another life, I guess. But you
Yeah.
were undrafted free agent, man. I was too, and I just know that builds resiliency. You know, it kind of just adds that chip on your shoulder, and you go into training camp really trying to take some names.
That's it. You have to, and you have to earn everything as an undrafted guy, and that's kind of how I like it, man. I don't want anything given to me, and I don't want to be complacent with anything. I think if you're a first round or a second round pick, there's some things that are given to you, and that's just the business of the league. But that being said, if you're undrafted, man, you got to earn it, and it makes you want to go even harder. And that's kind of how I've always been. Hayden, you've been the same way. We want to be the hardest working people in the locker room and on the field, and it's just kind of what comes with it. So, always been that way.
It's awesome, man. I love it. So, a couple fun questions. I just wanted to know, you've been around two of the best NFL quarterbacks. Just how are they alike? What are some things that you've taken from each of them?
Yeah, I definitely think they're two of the best. And that has been so cool to learn from those guys. My rookie year and second year, going into my third year, learning from Pat. There's certain things you learn from guys, and then there's also some things you don't want to learn from, and that he can do and only he can do. And same for Josh. Like, there's throws that they're making, and I'm like, I might have to turn my body a certain way to make that throw. I don't think I can make it that way, but it's just it's part of the league, part of being young, and just learning from those guys, and also just trying to help them as much as possible too. And whether it comes from mechanics or just film study or different things, is just try to be an extra set of eyes on the field for them, and in practice working on their mechanics and just seeing different things. They're great players. They're different. They do different things, but ultimately, man, they're the best at what they do, and it's been fun learning from both of them.
If you could tell one thing to rising college seniors, guys who are going to be in the NFL draft next year, kind of what's a lesson that you've learned that you would pass on to those guys?
Kind of like what I was saying with the whole undrafted thing. Even if you're the first round pick, man, just work and work. Like, don't lose that chip on your shoulder. Like, it's our dream to be in the NFL. It's our dream, and when the dream comes true, it's not like those things go away, man. That chip always needs to be on your shoulder. In this league, it is a business, so no one's I guess free of getting cut. Anybody can get cut, and I didn't expect to get cut my third year in Kansas City, but I did. And so you always got to have that chip on your shoulder. Never get complacent, and just put your head down and work.
And kind of building off that, any advice to guys going through a recruiting process? I know it's changed so much, but so maybe the right question might be transfers, prioritizing certain things, and, kind of building yourself in a successful situation rather than, some of the other motivating factors nowadays that go into transfers.
Yeah. I think the college level is tough, just because there is a payment factor to it. I hope it gets controlled, and it sounds like it will eventually. But just like you said, man, I think for me, like in high school, I always wanted to put on a jersey and like take pictures in front of the green screen and all these different things. But once I was going to SMU, I remember Chris Rodriguez was like, "Hey, let's do a photo shoot," and I was like, "I'll do it." I think Paige wants me to do it, but like, man, I just want to come and I want to play ball, man. I want to just play football. And I think that's the thing. It's just finding the fit for you, as a transfer, man. The ultimate reason why you're transferring is because you want opportunity to play. And I think that's first and foremost. It's not for the money. It's for the opportunity to play and finding the right fit. And that's exactly what I did. And that's why I chose SMU.
Yeah, I remember you were all business in a way. You commit, and I think I had your number maybe from recruiting, and just reached out. And I said, "Hey, any chance you want to talk?" And you were like, "Nope, I'm just coming in. I'm going to do my thing." And hey,
not
but
me.
no, I think I
Yeah.
might have ended up posting that on the board and say, "Hey, because people wanted to hear from you. Like
Right.
Hayden was
Right.
over there, shaking your hand and kissing your feet, and SMU fans were ready to do that as well." And I just said, "Hey, he wants to come in and go to work," and I mean that's exactly what you did. So I mean, kudos to you. I didn't say that.
No, I appreciate that.
You're hanging out with us now. It's a 4-year
100%.
decision, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been awesome watching you, man. I'm so proud of you. I remember that game, that second preseason game last year. You guys came to Arizona, and dude, you ran all over us. Where did that come from?
That's right.
Hey,
just
man,
turn
when
on
you
the
got
legs.
people, yeah, no, when you got people chasing you, it's different. You find a different speed. So that's where that came from. But it's funny, man. My wife, Paige, she's always talking like, man, I think you can run faster. And like, I promise you, I'm working on it. I'm working in the off season. I'm trying to run faster. But it's just all in love. She's trying to make me the best player I can be. But yeah, for some reason I like playing at Arizona. The dome, it's always hot in the summer. It kind of reminds me of Texas, man.
Yeah.
It's a good spot. I always like playing there.
Yeah, that was fun. I love the picture that you, me, and Rashid took. I need to get that framed for the office.
100%. 100%.
But Billy, unless you got anything else, that was all I had.
No, man, this is so awesome. We really appreciate you coming on, and like Hayden said, so proud of you and all that. And I know it's cheesy to say, but it's been a lot of fun watching your career, and of course being along for a little bit of the ride at least. So looking forward to more conversations, and it's been a blast hanging out.
Billy, Hayden, I appreciate you guys, man. This was fun.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Shane.
The On the Pony Express podcast is brought to you by our friends at AKM Turf and Greens. Renovate your entire backyard space or your entire lawn today with AKM Turf and Greens. You can get $500 off your project with code PONYUP. Alex Carpenter, a former professional golfer, and his team will take care of your backyard. Or if you're part of a church, a school, you have other land needs and you want to turf it, reach out to them and have the conversation. They can do anything from small projects, big projects, to entire green spaces, and do it with an attention to detail that you'd expect on this type of stuff. They can also maintain your yard so it's ready to go each year and it doesn't start to fade and things like that, like other turf does. So reach out to AKM Turf and Greens today. Use code PONYUP for $500 off your project. Hayden, that was a blast. So thanks for organizing that with Shane. And he is just truly one of the best out there.
All-time great for SMU. I'm so glad we were able to secure that for you guys. I mean, we'll have some big guests coming up. We're trying to line up SMU greats one after the other, but man, it's hard to get bangers after bangers, but we've been fortunate.
Well, and now that you and I are together doing this, one, it's a lot easier because you played with a lot of these greats. So, and as a great yourself, you hold a lot of weight. And, I see guys like Xavier Jones, Jimmy Phillips, and some of the other guys that have played a ton of snaps for SMU. And they're always kind of nudging. I'm like, we've got the post-game show. You're already here. But we got to get them on the pod. So a few of them will be lining up, I'm sure. But let's get to some subscriber questions. This is the bye week, but boy, did it take off on the question thread. And we've got our first one from our good old friend, Old Lax Guy. What do you think are the key reasons for the dramatic rise in the offensive line play during the last 3 games? And this comes after we said there was still room for improvement too.
I think the main reason is we've really committed to running the football. I think it's more evident when you're giving guys, 40 carries a game, as a running back room as a whole. We're really trusting this unit and allowing this unit to go to work where it's on full display rather than we're going to drop back to pass. And the only time that you really talk about offensive line play in the pass game is when you're giving up sacks. So it's one of those deals where you just have to stay patient. This unit I knew from spring was going to be a good unit, but it's finally bearing its head, and we're able to see the results of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, as much as we can talk about Kevin being able to move around and avoid sacks, I mean, he's also, been benefiting from the right 5 guys being in their spots. So kudos to the whole coaching staff for getting that together, including our friend Garen Justice as well. ATL Pony, what is happening with kickoffs out of bounds? It seems like it's happening too often to just be a random thing. I can take this, you can take this, but it has happened.
It has happened. I've never been a specialist. I've
Me
never done a kickoff. All I know is when I'm on the tee box with my driver, I don't hit the fairway every time. So I have to imagine it's just a accumulation of us kicking off a lot. Colin Rogers set the all-time scoring record this past week. We
He's a
have
stud.
pretty good specialists.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we don't need to spend much time on it, but they did go to Gabriel Lozano for 4 kickoffs against Louisville. So that's something that maybe I don't know what they're going to do out of the bye week, if they're talking with Colin about it or whatever. Colin's got the leg. We all know that. But there's definitely that consistency that's not there in the kickoff game. On the other hand, he's, I think, one of the best kickers in the country. There's no doubt about that. Just what he's able to do. He's a true weapon. And I mean, I think it's safe to say he's the greatest SMU kicker of all time. So sorry to anybody else who thinks someone else is, but he's passed Eric Dickerson, Xavier Jones, a couple of big names on that points list. So
kudos to him. Tie for first, and he just passed them all.
Yeah. Show Pony. What does a bye week look like from a preparation standpoint? Do you spend 2 weeks on your next opponent, or do you sometimes spend the bye week looking ahead and then turning to the next opponent on game week? This is a good question.
This is, and it really depends on what kind of team you have, what your record is, and really who the opponent is after the bye week. Obviously, in a big game, you're going to really take the bye as just an extra week of prep. But if you're overly beat up, or if the bye week is really late in the season, more than likely it's going to be a little lighter practices. The practices might just be a spiders where it's more that soft shoulder pad, almost like a padded shirt more than anything, and just really using it to get guys' bodies back, because that really is what the bye week is for, especially in a physical ACC slate where we're going to need everybody going down the stretch. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit of a mix, as this is going to be a big road trip afterwards, but we're going to need these guys fresh after the bye.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think Rhett Lashley's done a really good job of managing the bodies on the team. I mean, getting a Brashard Smith to game day is a big accomplishment. Obviously, the bye week will help guys like that a lot. And they're, hey, that's the benefit of that new Weber End Zone complex and the Armstrong Wellness Center that's down there. They've got all the tools to get these guys ready to go. Stangs 2019, he's got a few questions. KJ is playing like a top blank QB in the country. So what say you, or do you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first.
What is he playing like right now? And I don't want to say I'm a believer that you're only as good as your last game, but I mean, that was a big statement, and that's a top 20 quarterback type of performance. I mean, is it not? I like that 13 completions to open things up. You don't turn the ball over. I mean, you punch it in from the 1 yard line. You kind of get vultured on, your touchdowns there. And then, Preston comes in and does his thing for a play. So, I mean, he's just, playing point guard at a really elite level, as of last week in particular.
Yeah, I would say probably top 15, but you have to remember that was KJ's 5th start. So This is a guy that still has a lot of room to go as far as his growth, but there's nobody I would rather have as our quarterback right now in the country. If it was free agency, I'm still taking KJ.
Okay. All right. Quinn Ewers. No thanks. When Arch replaces you. Just kidding. But KJ is not getting replaced anytime soon by anyone in the country. Stangs 2019. What were your favorite nicknames of guys you played with, and favorite nicknames on the current team?
A lot of nicknames, are either just an abbreviation of their last name, like J-Rob, for Justin Robinson, or, JT, Justin Thomas. I played with a guy in New England. His name was Andrew Stuber. We all called him Stu, but Tank is a cool nickname on the current team. I'm a big fan of that. And I'm just trying J.O., those are just my guys, honestly. I don't know all the ins and outs in the locker room. I'm sure there's some secret nicknames, behind closed doors, but I don't know of any really big ones right now.
Shout out Kyle and Garrett on their QB Chronicles podcast. They were talking about dropping one into Derek Thompson, and his nickname is Bird. So that's okay. A pretty good one.
That reminds me, actually, Savion Bird, we all call him Birdman because he's more of our Dennis Rodman. So,
all right, Flying in from Vegas to Stanford. All right, here we go. We're rolling now. Stangs 2019. Evan Brown had a big-time tackle against the Niners. Do you think more big guys could play both ways?
Evan Brown is a freak athlete, man. He's just a guy that in the NFL, you're either a freak or a guy that works really hard. And Evan, fortunately, is a little bit of both. But do I think big guys should play both ways? No, I don't think any offensive linemen are going to rush the passer anytime soon. Now, at the end of the season, when you're in a bowl game, your last day of practice in one-on-ones, the offense and defensive line coach will allow the guys to switch, where offensive linemen are rushing the passer and defensive linemen are pass protecting. And it's always hilarious when Logan Parr comes to mind, hits one of the slowest spin moves of all time, but it works because these D linemen aren't used to pass setting. And it's awesome for the morale. But do I think it's going to end up as on the field product? No. That being said, Dan Connolly, the right guard for the Patriots, that big kickoff return he had where he takes it all the way down to the 5, all-time football moment. But I don't think there should be more right guards on KOR.
Stangs 2019 buttered you up for this one if you want to comment on it. But how's everybody doing in Fort Worth?
You know, my mom asked me if I'd talked to the Purple People Eater lately, and I said I had not. So I'm sure the Fort Worth people are in shambles right now, but we talked a little bit about that more the other day, if you want to check that out.
Fountain Connoisseur, how many different plays can you call with those big signs on the sidelines? We're getting into it now.
We are, yeah. So it depends on the offense. You know, some people use those signs as a distraction. Some people use those signs as their entire way to signal plays in. Some people are turning the signs on their side, you know, holding them backwards. I mean, you'll have 4 different people holding signs, and depending on who's wearing the right colored shirt is the one that's actually calling the plays. So you can get as complicated as you want to in college football when it comes to calling plays. Fortunately, now we have the headsets to where you can really just tell the quarterback in his ear what you're going to be doing.
What is the atmosphere like on the plane ride back after a big win like SMU had against Louisville? Also, can Billy recommend a private jet company? Statusjet.com, code PonyUpACC. But I'll add the extra caveat. What is it like when you know you have the bye coming after a big win too?
A big win like this, it's always a celebration on the jet. I mean, guys are going to be exhausted because you did just play a whole football game, but it's so much more, you know, guys aren't sitting back watching movies in silence like it is on the way there. You know, guys are laughing, you know, some guys will be watching the film, you know, other guys will be like, oh, look at this, that happened. Because when you watch film, it looks like Madden glitches. There's just certain plays where you're like, how did that happen? Or you're just looking at a dude being, you know, something hilarious happening. And just guys are telling jokes. Guys are having a great time. You know, in the NFL, guys used to drink a little bit on the way home from big wins like that. But you got a bye coming up. It definitely excites you and kind of adds a little bit more. And I'm sure guys had a little bit of a good time on Saturday once they got back, hit up some cool spots. But I also know that they were ready to go this week during practice.
Alan Stang, if you could have played another position outside of offensive line, what do you think it could have been, or perhaps what you wish it could have been? Have to pick something, although I know you love offensive line.
I would have loved to play tight end a little bit, man. I mean, my joke is that I played football at a high level, have the most snaps in NFL history, and I never touched the football, you know, other than, of course, snapping it. But so tight end, I mean, on defense, you know, maybe a middle linebacker spot, you know, get the neck roll, you know, big run stuff in middle linebacker from like the 1990s. But going to his next question, I keep meaning to talk about this. Talk about Elijah Chapman's jump to the NFL from your view as an offensive lineman. His smaller height makes him unique, but strength and technique must be off the charts for him to make this jump. As an O-line going against him in the NFL, what's your take? I remember I said in an interview, maybe it was 2019, his first year as a freshman, and I compared him to Ed Oliver. And guys were like, oh, that's such high praise from a true freshman on campus. You know, he was like a 2-star / 3-star, depending on where you were looking. But Elijah is a freak athlete. His center of gravity is so low that you can't lift him up in the run game because he's already pretty much as big as he's going to be. He's going to be under most offensive linemen. And then he's very twitchy in the pass game. You know, one of his big moves is he would set you up outside and he kind of just hits this shimmy and your legs pretty much just straighten because you don't know where he's going to go. And he goes outside, inside, or down the middle, and you're just cooked. So playing against him definitely made me better. I got to give him his flowers. I mean, he was a good defensive lineman for us. I will admit his size I thought was going to be his limiting factor. I didn't think an NFL team would take a 6 foot 280 offensive lineman on their active roster, but I'm stoked for him. He deserves everything.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, pinnacle of hard work coming together for him to get that opportunity to start, all those things. So I mean, I'm so happy for Elijah Chapman.
Football is a lot about effort,
Yeah,
and that play he had against the Texans where, he chases down the running back. I mean, he's a freak athlete. There
yeah.
were there were times where him, Reggie, and Danny would want to race, and he would beat them. I mean, we're talking about two of the fastest dudes to come through in the last 10 years, and his 10-yard get off is insane. But
That's,
he
that's
plays with such a high motor. I mean, it's been fun to watch.
all right, Hayden. This comes from DC Pony. As great as our team has performed this season, what are the areas of the team that may have further upside within this season, i.e., maybe their best is yet to come? An example I've been thinking about is Kevin's deep throws. But what other areas come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, the deep throws is one that I know he's going to improve on. They are getting closer. He's going to connect in stride at some point. I always talk about the offensive line because in that room, you're always striving to be better, and every position room is like that. So if I had to choose one, man, I would just say play a little more consistent on our offensive line across the board, limit our tackles for loss, and really just continue to gel as a unit.
I mean, I would say for me, the wide receivers. I think we're kind
Yeah.
of seeing them. I mean, we haven't talked about a drop in a while. I mean, I can't probably Nevada. I don't even think they dropped one against BYU. I mean, somebody can like Jordan Hudson had a couple of really tough catches to make, but I mean, he didn't get dinged for a drop. But I think they're playing really well. I think they're blocking really well, and I think maybe we see them make a couple of next level type of plays that SMU's hoping they can make, at some point this season, coming up. I mean, and you factor in kind of the schedule getting maybe a little bit better, even though they're all good teams. I mean, Louisville, for example, I mean, they have some dudes on that team that SMU played, and Florida State too, regardless of how bad it's going over there. But so
We were
anyway,
fortunate at SMU. I mean, Shane and Tanner were both great deep ball quarterbacks. So
yeah.
it's easy for the wide receivers to look great when they run under this ball and they're able to drop it in the bucket. But the better Kevin progresses with that, I think the better our wide receiving core is going to be perceived.
Yeah. Yeah. They had a few opportunities deep there, so they're getting close. What are specific ways third and fourth string guys, so to speak, realize there's no depth chart going down that far, and gray shirt, red shirt guys are groomed during the season to get them ready to be future year stars? Thinking in terms of coaching, maybe things starters, upperclassmen do to mentor, even if small, subtle ways, recognizing there's a lot on their plate to win the games during the season.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the group was called of guys that had extra workouts on Friday mornings, before the veterans and the guys that were going to play on Saturday would go in and do their run through. But they really pour a lot into the young guys, expecting them to be contributors like next year. Like it's not one of those deals where, hey, you're redshirting, by your fourth year, we want you to be contributing. It's, hey, by spring ball, we need you to be a guy that is going to push for a starting spot. So those guys are going up against the starters every day when they're on scout team. And as annoying as it is when you're a starter and you're sore and you're just trying to get through practice, and there's some guy that didn't play on Saturday and he's going balls to the wall full speed and he's trying to kick your ass. That's great for him because he's going against the best competition he's seen, in the starters. So it's just one of those deals where the more reps they can get in practice, and then the more we can blow people out and get, I hate to put it this way, garbage time or just late
Yeah.
time playing time for those young guys, the more they can develop.
Show Pony, this is recruiting, but what is the Notre Dame threat to flip Jalen Cooper? Is this a seeing what's out there trip or a point of genuine concern? So for those that don't know, and we did talk to Jalen a little bit ago after he was on campus for the Florida State game, which was a good showing for SMU, I'll add. But he's going up to Notre Dame for a visit when they play Stanford. You can't sit here and say it's not just a see what's out there, or, kind of like casual visit. I mean, it's an official visit that he's going to go check out Notre Dame, one of the top, historic programs in the country. And they did just lose their quarterback commit, Deuce Knight. He flipped to Auburn, so they are quarterback-less. Ty Hawkins is somebody that they're allegedly going to go after as well. So that's something to keep an eye on there when you talk about what they're looking at there. But I haven't heard any movement on Ty. I don't expect him to flip based on what I've heard behind the scenes. But so SMU is going to have to weather this storm with Jalen Cooper. He wants to make a final decision shortly after this, but he's been having a huge year. He's got a really solid quarterback commitment at SMU. He doesn't have one, to look to at Notre Dame. What he has to look to is, history and, a program that's been in the top 25 a lot. They've been, kind of hot under Marcus Freeman, despite losing to Northern Illinois. They've got things to sell too. And I mean, I'm not, I drew a line, across from Virginia all the way to, basically slightly diagonal to Texas when I picked college. I wasn't going up north. But that's something he's going to have to look at when he, gets down to it. So we'll continue to monitor it. I mean, he was at SMU for the Florida State game. He's pretty about his business. So, I mean, he'll make a decision and we'll see. I mean, if he flips to Notre Dame, I mean, there's really nothing SMU can do. I mean, this is the guy that turned down a bag from Baylor to commit to SMU, and we'll see. I mean, this is what happens when you recruit good players sometimes. The blue bloods come in and they usually flip them. It's really hard to hold on when you have the Golden Dome coming after you. I mean, or whatever prestigious program there is out there. So I know that sounds like he's flipping right away, but honestly, Jalen is he doesn't really give you much. But SMU feels like they're still in a good spot to keep him. I mean, they've recruited him really hard. They made him a priority. He's just kind of different. I mean, he's not flashy at all. I mean, he tweets out his highlights and that's about it. It's never really anything crazier than that. So SMU would be, over the moon to keep him. And it would be a massive feather in the cap of Rob Likens to keep a guy that I think is playing at a level where he could continue to go up into the top 100. But we'll continue to keep an eye on it, and we'll let you know how the trip to Stanford goes, and we'll work our sources from the Notre Dame site we have, Blue and White Illustrated, which does a great job. I mean, that's all I can say. It's not Blue and White Illustrated, Blue and Gold. Yeah, we'll just keep an eye on it. It's I'll be honest, guys, not to go on a full tangent here, but just high school recruiting anymore just doesn't bother me. If a kid wants to, get flipped because they saw first 2 games of his senior year and, do all that, I mean, more power to him. But, SMU was on Jalen Cooper super early. They invested a lot of time in him. And so we'll see. I mean, there's always guys in the portal. And that's what SMU is going to need next year too. I mean, Jalen Cooper is a really, really talented football player, and SMU would love to keep him. And trust me, I'm not trying to downplay it if he did go elsewhere, but it's just a different day and age now. I mean, it just doesn't bother me. Sorry, Hayden. Magnificent Glending. Who's your top walk-on for offense, defense, special teams? Current walk-on, not eventual Scully.
I have no idea who the walk-on players are on this team, to be honest. I know that this team does have a pretty cool walk-on culture. I know they kind of take a lot of pride in that. We had some really good walk-ons when I was there. Guys that, just like I said in the other question, they play hard, they don't complain, So when you feel like you're having a bad day and you're a scholarship guy and you're like, dude, this kind of sucks today, you look over and this guy's not complaining. This guy's paying his way here and he loves it, and that it inspires you.
Yeah. Carter Campbell comes to mind, Joey Bruiser. There's a lot of guys that put in a lot of work. I mean, Jack Laughlin. I'm sorry, I've never said his name on the podcast, but he's the backup right tackle, at least on the depth chart. So kudos to him. He's working his tail off, and so. But it's hard once you're in the season too. It's not like, I mean, we get 10 minutes of practice. I'm not checking the walk-ons too much. 2018 Mustang. What's your golf game like?
My best ever. I shot a 82 when I lived in Arizona. It was on really pure greens and just kind of got lucky. I'm normally like a mid-low 90s player, but I haven't played in a little while. So if we were to go out tomorrow, Billy, I'd probably shoot like a 105.
Yeah, I'm right around that 95 mark. Is kind of anything. I usually have a couple blow-up holes where it's like an 8. So I mean, everybody kind of has those if you're not a scratch golfer or whatever, but they usually happen for me twice around. And
if I break 90, that's a great day.
Yeah, I vibrate. Yep, same here. So maybe Bryson will invite us one day. Do you Mustang 23? Do you foresee either of our coordinators getting interviewed for head coaching roles this offseason?
Probably. That's the nature of college football. The more you win, the more they're going to try to take from the staff, but that means we have a good team. I know Coach Lashley, if they were to leave, he would replace them with good guys, but there's nothing really to stop that. If I'm a GA, I want to be a position coach. If I'm a position coach, I want to be a coordinator. If I'm a coordinator, I want to be a head coach. That's how it works.
Yeah. Casey Woods interviewed for Middle Tennessee and Troy and almost got both last year. So he'll probably get calls, especially with what SMU's doing with KJ. And then you've got Scott Simons, who is, I mean, just a stud, in terms of everything he's done. And let me tell you, money won't be an issue to keep Scott Simons. If he wants to go, it's for a true crazy blue blood type of program that wants to pay him $2 million a year to be a head coach, or excuse me, to be a defensive coordinator or get a start at the low level being a head coach. Like I don't see his jump being, or the NFL. I mean, the NFL is taking a lot of good college coaches lately, and there's a draw to not having to, like Jalen Cooper. I mean, it's and I'm not saying that because Jalen Cooper is messing around or whatever, but it's just people don't want to worry about recruiting and NIL and all that stuff. So a lot of these guys have goals to get to the NFL too. Yeah. Mustang 23. If you could choose any bowl for this year's SMU team to be in, what would you choose?
Obviously I want us to be in the playoff, so I got to say the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. But if for whatever reason we're not in the playoff, I think the Pop-Tart Bowl is a hilarious bowl from a marketing perspective. They do a great job with that. But when you're a player, you want to go somewhere warm. You don't want to go freeze your tail off. So probably one of the Florida Bowls.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on this because, I mean, I think with the schedule SMU has, I mean, you've got to be hoping for the playoff. And then so whatever brings that, I mean, it's a real conversation, it's not crazy to think that SMU could end up in the ACC championship and find a way to beat a Miami team or a Clemson team. I mean, they both have looked really good and they, have really good rosters, but it's just not crazy. So, I mean, for me, I would probably choose something that is in a cool area to go to. I don't really know what the pick would be. Anything but a bowl in Orlando. I've been to Orlando for the bowls. It's multiple times. Just anything but Orlando, I could probably be talked into. Bahamas Bowl sounds pretty good. January 4th. Let's do that. I mean, it's unlikely. It's Louisiana Tech versus Bowling Green is the projection right now. Right now, SMU is projected to play in the Duke's Mayo Bowl January 3rd, which is in Charlotte, funny enough. Charlotte's a great city, so I could be down for that. Do some barbecue, go to do all the NASCAR stuff.
Watch Rhett get a Mayo bath.
Oh, boy. All right, Abe. How much does extended travel impact performance when a team has to travel to a different time zone? Does it impact how well the team plays? Does it matter if it's 1 hour earlier or 2 hours later, say a 7 p.m. start, feeling like 9? SMU's just fresh off playing in the Eastern time zone, by the way, but a different travel situation there.
Yeah, so the team always keeps the day of the game schedule the exact same. So a 7 o'clock kick, if breakfast in Central Time is at 9, when you're in Eastern Time, it gets moved up an hour. So they try to keep it all the exact same, so it feels the same for the players. I think, fortunately, with us being in the middle of the country, it's a little different than Stanford having to travel to Syracuse.
Yeah, and there's a couple different schools of thought for college guys. And I think we did talk about this at Coast to Coast. I mean, maybe there is that move to, going on Friday no matter what and just eating a travel day. I mean, maybe it's something that happens.
Yeah, it was rare that I was in the league and we traveled, a couple days early. I mean, one year when I was with New England, we played Las Vegas and Arizona in back-to-back weeks, and we just stayed out there, which that was cool. It felt like a mini bye week, but I can't say it led to a great performance on Sunday. I think there's just something to be said about being in your routine, flying out day before, just waking up and playing.
Yep, agreed. So SMU is not going out 2 days early for Stanford, to my knowledge. So they should really be good no matter who they play and where. So shouldn't impact SMU. I don't think so. The one thing they are doing is they are staying the night after the Stanford game.
Okay.
So
that's unique.
Yep. So they just kind of decided. So for the pros, they want to be home with their kids. They don't want to be spending the night and things like that. But for the guys, like SMU will get done 8 o'clock local, get to the hotel. They'll have, I'm sure, like nice meal, treats, all those things ready and waiting for the guys. And they'll stay in the same hotel that, they stay in, that night or the night before. So, and they'll get up and I think they're going to have breakfast and jump on a plane. And because now Rhett made the switch, it used to be like when Chad, you guys were practicing on Sundays, right?
So we had a practice on Sundays with Chad. Yeah. With Sonny, we did a spiders / later in the year. Once we were winning, he kind of would just be like, just film tonight. Yeah. And then I know that Coach Lashley on Sundays, that's their off day, because then on Monday they come in and do all the post game stuff.
Yeah. So it's been a change. It's more the NFL model that Rhett Lashley's brought in. So they'll just treat it as kind of an off day, but you're hanging out with your teammates, flying back, 3 hours across the country. So. Yeah. All right, that wraps up the questions for the bye week. We got next week previewing SMU Stanford. We'll break that down. We'll go coast to coast again. But what a weekend of games, by the way. That are you going to just be posted on the couch? Are you going to, you got any big plans for it? Are you going to OU Texas? What's
no? Yeah, Cam Irvin. We're actually gonna turn some wrenches in the garage. He's coming over. We're gonna modify his 4Runner a little bit, and then we'll have the TV in the garage, kind of just posted up, kind of watching as we're working, but just hanging out this weekend.
Yeah, just the full blown. What is it? Old school when Will Ferrell's working on the car in the front yard.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm good. I got to be right here. Yeah, I'm good. Oh man. Well, awesome. Well, enjoy the slate of games, everyone. This has been a blast. Thanks again, Hayden, for getting Shane on. It's been a ton of fun doing this with you, and we've got a lot more ahead.
Thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast with Billy Embody. Follow us on your socials on X at SMU3 and on Instagram at On3SMU. And keep it locked to OnThePonyExpress.com for more coverage.